I used to think love was something loud, something obvious, something that announces itself with fireworks and perfect timing. I was wrong. Love didn't knock on my door. It slipped into my life quietly, through a screen, on an ordinary night when I wasn't looking for anything at all. That evening felt like every other one before it. Room lights off, city noise leaking through the window, my phone glowing in my hand as I scrolled with no purpose. I wasn't lonely, at least that's what I told myself. Then my phone buzzed, a notification, a name I didn't recognize. A profile picture blurred just enough to feel distant, anonymous. I almost ignored it. Almost. Hey, I know this might sound strange, but I think we were meant to talk. I stared at the message longer than I should have. People don't write like that anymore. Not without a reason. Not without expectations. I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I replied.
Meant to talk how?
A minute passed. Then another. I thought that was it. Her reply came slower, more careful. I don't know. I just had this feeling. You can ignore this if you want. That sentence did something to me. Because it didn't demand attention, it didn't push. It left the choice to me. So I stayed. We talked about small things at first. Where we were from, what time it was where she lived, why neither of us was sleeping. She joked that night was the only time her thoughts slowed down. I said mine got louder. She understood. That surprised me. Messages turned into paragraphs. Paragraphs turned into conversations that lasted until sunrise. We talked about music that made us feel too much, movies we never admitted crying to, moments we wished we could redo. I found myself waiting for her replies, checking my phone without realizing it, and that scared me because I didn't know her voice, didn't know her walk, didn't know the way she smiled when she was nervous. Yet somehow, she knew parts of me no one else did. I told her things I never planned to say out loud. About fear. About feeling replaceable. About pretending to be okay when I wasn't. She didn't try to fix me. She just listened. One night, after hours of silence, she sent a message. "Can I ask you something personal?" I hesitated. "Sure." She typed for a long time, then stopped. Typed again. Finally, "Have you ever been afraid of being happy because you know how easily it can disappear?" I didn't answer right away because the truth was uncomfortable. "Yes," I wrote, "all the time." Her reply was simple. "Me too." That was the moment something changed. Not dramatically, not instantly, but quietly. We started saying good morning and good night. We started noticing when the other one was quiet, asking if everything was okay, caring, without admitting we cared. Weeks passed, then months. She became part of my routine, my calm, my distraction. And one day, without planning it, I realized something terrifying. I imagined her there, in the same room, sitting across from me, and it felt natural. I tried to pull back. I told myself it wasn't real, that connections like this don't last, that distance always wins. But every time I tried to step away, she noticed. "You've been different today," she wrote once. I didn't reply for hours. When I finally did, I typed the truth. "I'm scared this means more to me than it should." Her response came quickly. What if it means exactly as much as it should? That question stayed with me, late at night, early in the morning, in moments when the world felt too quiet. I wanted to meet her, but I was afraid that reality would ruin everything we'd built, or worse, make it real. One evening, she sent a message that made my heart stop. "I think it's time we meet." I stared at the screen because I knew once we crossed that line, nothing would be the same. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure if I was ready to find out. "I think it's time we meet." Those words stayed on my screen longer than I expected, longer than they should have. Not because I didn't want to meet her, but because wanting something that badly is dangerous. I locked my phone, put it face down on the table, stared at the ceiling like it might give me answers. My heart was racing. Meeting her meant risking everything we'd built, the safety, the distance, the comfort of imagination. Because imagination never disappoints you. Reality does. I finally picked up my phone again. "When?" I typed. She replied almost instantly. "How about next month?" A month. Enough time to get excited, enough time to get scared, enough time to overthink everything. I agreed, and the moment I did, fear settled in my chest. From that day on, everything felt different. Our conversations were still warm, still honest, but underneath them, something new existed. Expectation. I started imagining every possible version of our meeting, the good ones, the awkward ones, the ones where she realizes I'm not what she hoped for. I wondered if my voice would sound wrong, if my presence would feel smaller in real life, if I would disappoint her without even trying. She seemed calmer than me, too calm. That scared me too. One night I asked her, "Are you nervous about meeting?" She didn't reply right away. When she did, her answer was short. "Yes, but I'm more scared of not meeting." I wished I had her certainty. Days passed, then weeks, and slowly she started replying later. Not cold, not distant, just later. I told myself it meant nothing, that people get busy, that life doesn't pause for feelings. But my mind didn't listen. One evening, I sent her a long message, too long. I deleted it, then sent a shorter one. "Is everything okay?" She read it, didn't reply. An hour passed, then 2. That night, I fell asleep with my phone in my hand. The next day, she apologized. "Sorry, I had a lot on my mind." I wanted to ask more, but I didn't, because I was afraid of the answer. The silence grew slowly, not dramatic, not sudden, just enough to hurt. We still talked every day, but not like before. Less laughter, more pauses, more things left unsaid. Then one night, she didn't reply at all. No good night, no explanation, nothing. I checked her profile. Still there. I told myself she fell asleep. She didn't. The next morning, still nothing. By evening, my chest felt tight. I typed, deleted, typed again. Did I do something wrong? The message stayed unread. That's when the fear turned into something else. Loss. Days passed. No messages, no signs. I replayed every conversation, every joke, every moment I might have pushed too hard or not enough. I blamed myself for caring too much. then blamed myself for not caring sooner. That's when I understood something painful. You don't need to meet someone to lose them. You just need to imagine a future with them. A week later, I stopped checking my phone, not because it stopped hurting, but because hope became heavier than sadness. I told myself it was over, that this was just another almost. Then, one night, when I wasn't expecting anything, my phone buzzed. Her name. My hands started shaking. I didn't disappear because of you. I read it again and again. There are things in my life I never told you about, things that made me believe I wasn't ready for something real. I stared at the screen. She continued. I was afraid that if we met, I'd lose you for real. I didn't reply right away because part of me was angry, part of me was relieved, and part of me was still in love. I wish you had trusted me, I finally wrote. Her response came slower this time. I know. I'm trying to learn how. We talked that night like we used to, carefully, honestly. She told me about her fears, her past, why happiness felt unsafe to her. I listened, and for the first time I realised love isn't just about connection, it's about timing. Before we said goodnight, she asked one last question. Do you still want to meet me? I closed my eyes, because the answer mattered. Yes, I wrote, but only if you're not running anymore. There was a long pause, then she replied, I'm not. We picked a new date, sooner this time, and as I put my phone down, one thought stayed with me. Some love stories don't break you. They test whether you're brave enough to stay. The day we were supposed to meet arrived faster than I expected, faster than I was ready for. I woke up before my alarm, checked my phone. No new messages. For a moment, fear whispered that she had changed her mind again. Then the screen lit up. Good morning. I'm on my way. I exhaled for what felt like the first time that day. I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, not because I cared about looking perfect, but because I cared about being enough. Enough for the voice I'd memorized. Enough for the words that carried me through lonely nights. Enough for the person I'd let closer than anyone else in years. The cafe was small, quiet, the kind of place where conversations felt safer. I arrived early. Of course I did. I chose a table near the window, watched people pass by, checked the door every time it opened. My hands were shaking. Then she walked in. I recognized her instantly, not from photos, not from imagination, but from the way she looked around, slightly unsure, slightly hopeful. Our eyes met, and in that moment, everything else faded. She smiled, not a perfect smile, a real one, the kind that says, I'm scared too. She walked toward me. Hi, she said. Her voice was exactly how I remembered it, and somehow, hearing it in real life felt like coming home. We laughed awkwardly at first, about being nervous, about how strange this was. But slowly the tension softened. She sat across from me, wrapped her hands around her cup. I noticed little things. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she listened. The way her eyes softened when she smiled. She was real, and that terrified me. I was afraid you wouldn't come, she admitted. I was afraid you wouldn't recognize me, I replied. She smiled again. I recognized you the moment you looked up. We talked for hours, about everything we already knew, and things we never said online. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was comfortable, safe. At one point, she went quiet. I noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked down. "I keep waiting for this to feel disappointing," she said softly. "But it doesn't." Neither did I. When we finally stood up to leave, the air between us changed. The moment we both knew was coming had arrived. She hesitated. So did I. Then she reached for my hand, just slightly, like she was giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Her hand was warm, real. We walked outside together. The city felt louder now, more alive. She stopped, looked at me. "I need to tell you something," she said. I nodded. She took a breath. "I'm still scared, but I don't want fear to make my choices anymore." My heart raced. "I don't either," I said. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see every emotion in her eyes: hope, uncertainty, trust, and something else: love. Our first kiss wasn't perfect. It was gentle, careful, like we were both asking the same question. Is this real? It was. When we pulled away, she laughed softly. "So," she said, "was it worth the wait?" I smiled. Yes, every second. But as perfect as that moment felt, reality didn't disappear. We still lived separate lives, in separate places. And as we stood there, hand in hand, I knew this was just the beginning. The hardest part was still ahead. People think love ends at the first kiss. That once two people finally meet, touch, and smile in the same place, the story is complete. They're wrong. That's where the real story begins. After that day, nothing felt the same. Not in a dramatic way, not like the world suddenly changed colours, but in the quiet moments, when I reached for my phone and smiled before even reading her message. When the distance between us felt smaller, not because it disappeared, but because it finally had a direction: forward. We didn't promise each other forever, not yet. We promised honesty, effort, presence. And somehow that felt stronger than any big words. We started meeting more often. Train rides, late-night walks, shared coffee cups and inside jokes no one else would understand. Every goodbye hurt a little less, because it always came with a "see you soon." One night, sitting together in silence, she asked me, "Do you ever think about how unlikely this is?" I smiled. "All the time." She leaned her head on my shoulder. And yet, here we are. Love didn't erase our fears. It taught us how to talk about them. When she felt overwhelmed, she didn't disappear anymore. She stayed. When I doubted myself, I didn't push her away. I let her in. We learned that love isn't about never being scared. It's about choosing each other anyway. Months passed, then more. And one day, without planning it, we were no longer counting time. We were living in it. The moment I knew this wasn't temporary came quietly. We were standing in line at a grocery store, arguing about which chocolate was better. She laughed, I laughed, and I realised this felt like home. Not a place, a person. Later that night, she looked at me and said, "I don't want this to be just something beautiful we remember." Neither did I. So we made a decision. Not impulsive, not dramatic, just honest. Hopeful. We chose to build something real, together. The kind of love that survives ordinary days, messy days, quiet days. The kind that doesn't need perfect timing, just commitment. Sometimes I think about that first message, the one I almost ignored, the one that changed everything. And I wonder how many people walk past their own stories without realizing it. Soft ending. Love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits. And sometimes it's just one message away. Pause, warm, sincere. If you're watching this and wondering whether to take a chance, this is your sign. Fade out.